r/ask Reddit. What is the most evil company and why? Didn't Bayer knowingly give a bunch of people AIDS back in the 80s? Not just a bunch, a whopping shitload of people. Bayer had manufactured blood clotting agents that they discovered were infected with HIV. Sometime after they became aware of the contamination, they stopped selling the medications in Europe and North America. But because they had a massive stockpile of tainted product, they decided that instead of taking a massive loss by wasting the products, it would be better for them to misrepresent their own research and to sell the infected products in poor countries in Asia and South America. There is no accurate total that I have ever read as to how many people were infected as a result of Bayer's decision that saving $4 million was more important than the lives of people in poor countries. But the number directly infected by the use of Bayer medication was in the thousands at least, if you consider the fact that others were then infected through sexual contact with those who were infected by use of Bayer products. It is not outside the realm of possibility that tens or hundreds of thousands of people contracted HIV and died as a result of Bayer's heinous actions. Bayer has paid out at least $600 million in quiet settlements since then. But no criminal charges were ever filed, and nobody has ever spent a single day in jail over any of this. Read into this on Wikipedia. Cutter Laboratories, purchased by Bayer, made that mistake. In 1955, Cutter also released 120,000 doses of polio vaccine which contained live polio virus. From Wikipedia, of children who received the vaccine, 40,000 developed abortive poliomyelitis, a form of the disease that does not involve the central nervous system. 56 developed paralytic poliomyelitis, and of these, 5 children died from polio. 2. The exposures led to an epidemic of polio in the families and communities of the affected children, resulting in a further 113 people paralyzed and 5 deaths. My grandmother said the polio vaccine gave one of my uncles polio as a child. He was in a wheelchair for a while and eventually gained the ability to walk again. This helps make sense how he was able to survive it. Nestle. Just Google all the ducked up shit they have done. They mine water from third world countries and bottle it and sell it, leaving the local villages with no water. The CEO said water isn't a human right. In third world countries they basically have slaves working for them. Good luck ever boycotting them though. They hide behind hundreds if not thousands of brands and own companies such as Blue Bottle Coffee and large stakes in companies such as L'Oreal. You can use the Bookat app, which has a Nestle campaign barcode scanner app that tells you if the product is kosher for whatever criteria campaigns you pick. I wish in the future, when we'll be using AR on everyday basis, apps like this would tell us about products we want to boycott just by looking at them. Unfortunately, the apps will be owned by Nestle subsidiaries. That's bad. Didn't Nestle give baby formula to women in third world countries for free for an amount of time? And once the women had stopped producing breast milk, they hiked up the price of the formula, leaving the women unable to feed their children whatsoever, not even going into their ridiculous hike up on bottled water. I read about them doing this in third world countries, setting themselves up at the local birthing hospitals and paying the doctors and nurses to give it out like it was health advice and health products from a trusted source. But it was for profit private products designed specifically to harm newborns, children, mothers, and families for profit, and they did this for years and then fought to continue doing it once they were exposed. They also steal third world countries' water and use human slave labor on a mass scale. Nestle might win this contest. I have had brief interactions with Nestle through my work, and frankly even the people I dealt with were a-holes. Their feedback and commentary was horrendous and insulting to the outside people involved. It wasn't helpful, just cruel. Horrible company with shitty people. Recently, Nestle was trying to bottle up a water source near me. The town it was in held a meeting to get some of the locals' input. So Nestle sent busloads of workers in the morning to fill up seats so that there was no room for the locals to get in. That makes me mad. Super mad. Was going to suggest Apple, but after having read all the ducked up shit other companies have done, maybe changing the headphone jack isn't that bad. Same thing with me, but my favorite was EA. EA are but a nuisance compared to a lot of other companies. Unreal to me that so many people are saying EA when there is a company on here that gave people ducking AIDS. But EA attacked gamers. This shall not remain ignored. Gamers, rise up. Yes, Bayer gave people AIDS and Nestle killed babies to turn a profit. Holy ducking shit, man. Purdue Pharma, check the ongoing opiate heroin epidemic. They gave the world OxyContin, paid off doctors to prescribe it and straight up lied, saying it wasn't addicting. Their marketing campaign and fundamentally corrupt ethics are a big reason tens of thousands of people are dying out here. Made billions and paid off like a few million. They made bank and society taxpayers are footing the bill. Duck em. First thing that came to my mind, and I can't believe I had to scroll this far down to find it. Also, I hear now they're marketing the cure to opioid addiction as well. The ultimate perfect circle of marketing. But sadly their cure will just be another drug that attaches to the same receptors in the brain. That still affects the user negatively, but they'll say hey, it's better than the heroin you're using. Opioids have a place in medicine, but not what these shats created. No association with the University. BTW. Doofenshmirtz Evil Inc. Can you blame him? Neither of his parents bothered showing up when he was born. I'd have an evil corporation too. He was raised by ocelots. His father made him wear a lawn gnome costume and stand still 7/24. His brother was loved more than him and his only friends were a giant roach and a balloon. Let's not forget that his mother's love was always inexplicably linked to kickball, meaning he couldn't kick his way right into her heart. Church of Scientology. Amway, because it is one of the biggest scams and brainwashed culture, dangerous and ruined many lives. All MLMs really. That company which sells scissors in a package you can only open with scissors SMH. You don't have tin snips. The sugar industry as a whole is pretty evil. The corn lobby in the US would like to have a word with you. You mean like how sugar is in a lot of processed foods, and they pushed fat as being bad? Or do you mean the sugar plantations in the Caribbean that were actively involved in the Atlantic triangular trade with slaves through the 16th to 19th century? Valeant, now known as, or part of Bausch Companies, a medical company that buys drug patents and then dramatically hikes up the price to those that need it to survive. We're talking from hundreds of dollars a month to tens of thousands. Pure evil. Don't forget that they also cut R&D because it's a financial black hole. They let smaller companies do all the work, then buy them up when they patent an interesting new drug. It seems pretty obvious that this isn't going to work on the long term once they own all the former research facilities. Nestle, because they are scamming people into buying their bottled water. They also marketed formula as healthier than breast milk in countries without access to clean drinking water, as well as having been accused, quite probably rightfully so, of using child labor at their cocoa plants. There are lots of other things on their list. They also gave 2 months of formula away free in poor countries, knowing that after 2 months without breastfeeding that the mothers would stop producing milk. They didn't share this information with the people taking the formula and just waited until they had to buy the formula to keep the babies alive. Ducked up. Georgia ruins small businesses and destroys the sense of community in rural towns. None of this would happen if Pierre didn't schedule his day off on goddamn Wednesday. I can't see any banks on this list, given the things that they did that led to the global crash a decade ago, and the lack of remorse, the lack of retribution, their increase in wealth whilst the rest get poorer, should put them on the list, and it looks likely to happen again. When Nestle inevitably buys Goldman Sachs, the new combined headquarters will have to be built entirely from brimstone and the viscera of babies. The amount of spying Google is doing, their access to every camera, listening every word you say or type, could definitely be a horror movie in my opinion. Don't know about evil, but it's definitely scary and unsettling. Big Brother is watching us. I'm scared they'll start charging me to keep my incognito history from my wife. That is a subject I'm curious about actually. Why do people care if their BFGF is watching porn so much? Why would you even feel the need to hide something from someone you are supposed to share your life with? I mean, Shell has got to be up there. Back in 90s they spent a lot of time in Nigeria and, after building pipelines over farmland, came up against protests. In short, Shell got into bed with the Nigerian dictatorship and undoubtedly had a hand in the hanging of Kensero Wiwa, who led the protests, plus a few more. Look up the Ogoni 9. It's amazing how much they got away with back then. Duck Shell. British Petroleum, BP. They are arguably responsible for the mess Iran is in now, since the UK and US governments in the 1950s conspired to overthrow the democratic government of Iran. They installed a puppet government, the Shah of Iran, whose responsibility was to give away the Iranian-owned half of the company to allow BP to exist as a solely British venture. Never mind, the whole destroyed the ecosystem of the Atlantic Ocean with the Deepwater Horizon disaster. The Gulf of Mexico is one of the critical breeding grounds for most species that live in the Atlantic. Lots of good answers here, but I've still not forgiven British Petroleum for Deepwater Horizon. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.